for allowing them to do that. How many of them sit down and read a book these days? Anyhow, their attention span is very, very limited. The public at large has a limited attention span. For example, let me get back here, go back a few years. Werner von Braun said in 1959, now get the year, 59. 5 years after 54. Now what the hell happened in 54? Well, something unusual happened at Muroc Air Force Base in California in 54, where an aging president had an encounter that literally damn near killed him. Because right after this event in 54 at Muroc, the poor old dude had a heart attack. He was not able to deal with this thing. Anyhow, in 1959, a famous Nazi by the name of Werner von Braun, who literally built our Saturn V program from the ground up, had this to say, and this appeared in several U.S. newspapers. I kid you not, this was published in newspapers. Werner said in 59, "We find ourselves faced by powers which are far stronger than we had hitherto assumed, and whose base is at present unknown to us. I cannot say more at present. We are now engaged in entering into closer contact with those powers." Now, wouldn't you have thought that Werner would have been mobbed? Explain this? What the hell are you talking about? Who are these powers that you're referring to? I mean, you're one of our top scientists. You're building the Apollo program for us. This is in 59. No major response. Like, it just went over. 1980. Another German professor by the name of Hermann Oberth said this, and this was quoted and published in several American newspapers. "We cannot take the credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped by the peoples of other worlds." Now, did this cause a ripple? Did people say, "What the hell are you talking about, Professor? People of other worlds? What?" It cries out for answers, and there weren't any, and nobody made a deal out of it. And then here we have something in 1987. A prominent American senator from Hawaii, Daniel K. Inouye, United States Senator from Hawaii. He said this in a committee, and it's in the congressional record. "There exists a shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, and its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances and free from the law itself." And this is in the congressional record. And did that cause a response? Did people mob the senator and say, "Senator, what the hell are you talking about? This is dynamite"? Attention deficit disorder. Allen Hynek said before he died, a series of events occurred in New York along the Hudson River some years ago, called the Hudson River events, where gigantic triangular and boomerang-shaped objects a mile and a half along across hovered over the Hudson River, moved slowly up and down the Taconic Freeway there, hundreds of people going up and down, guys pulling off the road, looking up and seeing this damn thing. It was gigantic. It hovered over the Indian Point nuclear reactor for an hour. All the alarms went off. All of the security people responded to this thing, and it took place. And not one word from the authorities about this except some stupid-ass idea of a bunch of guys were flying little planes around at night in formation. The FAA, to its eternal shame, said things like that. Oh, these guys were flying around in their little airplanes, in formation at night. Never mentioning that this was total violation of FAA regulations, as if those little guys in little airplanes could match something that's 1.5 miles across, a boomerang, a triangle, attention deficit disorder. It goes on and on and on. Where am I here? As I say, I tend to wander, forgive me. Okay, I've given you your little parable. I talked about David Froning. I talked about Ben Rich. I quoted Inouye, von Braun, Oberth, the shadow government. Oh, I want to touch upon one little other thing here. There's an amusing situation that has taken place. I find it amusing and I find it tragic. There's a young Brit by the name of Gary McKinnon. Many of you, I'm familiar with this story. Gary, it seems, is a computer nerd. He's a real genius. He's a hacker. Well, Gary happened to be able to hack into the Defense Department computers here about a year ago, a little over a year now. He hacked into NASA's computers a little over a year ago. And he come up with some stuff that was dynamite. And so what happened is that we found out about it and we got a hold of the Brits and we said, we want that man. We're going to put him on trial and we're going to stick his ass in jail for 70 years. And so help me God, the British agreed to extradite young Gary McKinnon to the United States for trial and sentencing. Now, I stand curious to see what kind of a trial they plan to put on for McKinnon. It's got to be a public trial. He's not a U.S. citizen. They're charging him with a violation of our computer security systems and all the rest of it. So this kid's being sent from the UK over to the United States, and they're going to put his little butt up in front of a judge and a jury and charge him with damage by breaking into our NASA and our Defense Department computers. I and others have said they should hire the kid, for Christ's sake, and put him to work. If he can crack, hack into those computers, he must know what the hell he's doing. But let me just touch lightly upon what did Gary McKinnon come up with? What did he download when he hacked into those computers? He apparently downloaded some stuff, packaged up the material, and turned it over to a British researcher by the name of Timothy Good. Now, Tim, for many of you who know of him, he's probably one of the top researchers on the planet. He's a brilliant young man. Well, I say young, he's about the age of my son, about 57, maybe close to 60. I'm sorry? Anyhow, Timothy Good apparently was the recipient of some of this downloaded material from McKinnon. McKinnon says, I got some dynamite here. And he gave it to Timothy Good with the idea that maybe Timothy eventually could publish it. Now the question is are they going to try to extradite Timothy Good to the United States and put his butt in front of a jury and a judge? But we don't know. The Brits I met in Barcelona told me that the story is pretty definite, pretty true. But what is McKinnon download? Let me just touch upon a couple of things. Orders, military orders, transferring a command